Imagine this. You're packing for that dream European getaway, passport in hand, ready to board a flight without a second thought. But in 2026, that effortless entry? It's ending. A quick online form and a small €7 fee now stand between you and the Eiffel Tower or the canals of Amsterdam. Surprising, right? The once mighty US passport, ranked 8th globally by the Henley Passport Index in 2025, is losing a bit of its shine as countries worldwide adjust border policies in response to rising migration, cybersecurity threats, and shifting geopolitics. Here's the US twist. As America asserts influence, from reinforcing NATO during the Russia-Ukraine war to managing South China Sea tensions with allies like the Philippines, many partners are mirroring that vigilance at their own gates. For the 80 million Americans who traveled abroad in 2024, according to the U.S. State Department, this means new hurdles, longer waits, and a reminder that no passport is untouchable. For Filipino viewers, especially OFWs and dual citizens in the United States, these changes hit close to home. U.S. policy shifts ripple worldwide, influencing how other nations handle reciprocal travel and possibly complicating family visits or business commitments. In this episode of Discovering the Earth, we'll break down the geopolitics of countries tightening their borders. We're counting down the 10 nations making travel tougher for Americans in 2026. From Europe's new digital gates to South America's shifting policies, these changes aren't just bureaucratic. They reflect how the world is redefining mobility. Why now? And how will it impact your wallet or wanderlust? Stay tuned as we unpack the data, context, and consequences. Let's cross those borders before they close in on us. Number 10. Brazil. Brazil, the vibrant heart of South America, home to samba, beaches, and the Amazon, once welcomed Americans visa-free. Starting in 2026, that changes. Beginning in April 2025 and fully enforced by year's end, U.S. travelers must secure an eVisa before arrival. It's a $80 digital permit processed within 5 business days through Brazil's official portal, requiring passport scans, proof of funds, and a printed approval. The reason is mutual policy. Brazil reinstated the visa after the U.S. increased scrutiny of Brazilian visitors in 2024. Citing higher overstay rates, 2.5%, double the global average, according to Brazil's foreign ministry. President Lula's administration seeks balance, preserving tourism revenue, $7.2 billion from Americans in 2024 per embratur, while strengthening national security. We welcome visitors, but not at the expense of our sovereignty, Lula told Reuters. Before the change, 650,000 Americans visited annually. Experts predict a 15 to 20% drop afterward, mirroring trends seen when Australia launched its ETA. The Philippines could see indirect effects, as PHUS alliances may influence reciprocal visa arrangements. Brazil's decision also aligns with Mercosur's regional integration and debates over Amazon oversight involving US NGOs. So, if you're eyeing Rio's carnival, plan ahead. Brazil's new process adds a toll but aims to modernize rather than divide. Number 9. Switzerland. Switzerland, the serene land of chocolate, watches, and alpine lakes, has long been a haven for visa-free travel. But in 2026, Americans fall under the ETIAS system, a €7 online pre-approval valid for 3 years across the 26-nation Schengen zone. Applications process quickly, though approvals can be denied for flagged security risks. The new entry/exit system, complete with biometrics, adds verification at borders. The reason is clear. Europe faces record migration pressures, 1.5 million asylum claims in 2024, according to Eurostat, and seeks smarter screening. Precision engineering applies to borders too, said Swiss Federal Councillor Elisabeth Bauma-Schneider. Switzerland, while not EU, aligns with Schengen for seamless travel, and with US security goals, particularly given its alignment in sanctions and NATO support roles. About 1.2 million Americans spent $2.8 billion there in 2024, and only minimal declines are expected. For Filipino Americans, this shift could influence financial or travel ties, as Swiss banks handle significant OFW remittances. Even in neutral Switzerland, border vigilance has a digital face now. Number 8. Austria. Austria, where classical charm meets modern vitality, adopts ETIAS in 2026. Americans must apply online for the €7 authorization valid for short-term stays, tracked through the EES biometric system. This move arises from Austria's position on Europe's migration route, with 80,000 irregular entries reported in 2024. Security isn't optional in an interconnected world, said Chancellor Karl Nehammer. Austria, as a NATO aspirant, aligns its border measures with broader European security strategies. Nearly 900,000 Americans visit Austria yearly, spending €1.9 billion. Analysts expect a small dip similar to post-Brexit UK trends. For Filipino Americans, these changes could indirectly affect mobility for families tied to U.S. visa programs in Europe. Austria's famous café culture endures, but your next Viennese coffee might come with a digital checkpoint first. Number 7. The Netherlands. The Netherlands, with its canals and creative energy, will implement ETIAS and EES just like its Schengen neighbors. Travelers must apply for online authorization before boarding, a €7 formality that enforces clearer visit limits. Dutch authorities cite mounting migration through ports and airports as motivation. Open doors invite shadows. ETIAS lights the way, said Prime Minister Dick Schoof. For 1.1 million American visitors spending €2.5 billion annually, this is a small friction point. The Netherlands also works closely with the U.S. on cybersecurity and NATO intelligence, linking travel tech to mutual defense goals. Filipino professionals in Dutch firms may feel minor administrative echoes too. Amsterdam's canals stay charming, but they now flow under digital watchtowers. Number 6. Portugal. Portugal, known for its explorers and sunny shores, joins the ETIAS rollout too. Americans traveling for tourism or business will pay the €7 fee and pass biometric verification upon arrival. This comes after a surge in golden visa misuse. 10,000 American investors entered in 2024, raising oversight concerns. Foreign Minister João Gomes Cravinho explained it as a safeguard to preserve transparency while welcoming visitors. Portugal hosted about 800,000 Americans in 2024, generating €1.6 billion in revenue. A small decline, around 6%, is expected. For Filipino Americans, Portugal's strategic Atlantic role echoes historical connections through U.S. bases and trade presence. Even in a land of discovery, borders now require digital maps. Number 5. Greece. Greece, cradle of democracy and sunlit islands, follows a similar pattern with 2026 ETIAS enforcement. Americans must register in advance, with verification upon arrival under the EES. Migration pressures have soared, with 150,000 boat arrivals recorded in 2024. Democracy thrives on secure foundations, said Prime Minister Kyriakos Mitsotakis. With U.S. military presence in Greek bases countering regional tensions, shared border vigilance is expected. 3 million Americans visited in 2024, contributing €6 billion to the economy. The UNWTO projects a 7% dip post-ETIAS. Filipino seafarers and Greek shipping partnerships reflect how travel rules affect global labor routes too. Greece's legendary openness now meets structured oversight, a balancing act between heritage and high-tech. Number 4. Spain. Spain's sun, culture, and coastal beauty attract over 1.5 million Americans annually, generating nearly €3.5 billion. But starting 2026, ETIAS and EES will regulate those arrivals. Spain absorbed 20% of EU asylum claims, prompting tighter entry screening. Passion needs protection, said Prime Minister Pedro Sánchez. Political and military cooperation with the U.S., especially in Mediterranean migration patrols, accelerated Spain's move toward digital border systems. Experts predict an 8% dip in visitors. Filipino links to Spain through history and shared migration pathways make these developments more than symbolic. From flamenco nights to frontier tech, Spain's warmth remains, but so does its watchfulness. Number 3. Italy. Italy's timeless magnetism, from Rome's ruins to Venice's canals, faces new formalities. 2026 marks the start of ETIAS and EES, closing the chapter on spontaneous travel. Migrant arrivals reached 250,000 in 2024, prompting stronger controls. Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni emphasized that border management is a matter of national pride, given Italy's cooperation with the U.S. on Mediterranean patrols and NATO bases. The tightening aligns with broader security coordination. 2 million Americans visited Italy in 2024, spending €5 billion. Forecasts suggest up to a 9% drop. Filipino communities working in Italy's care and service sectors could face delays in reciprocal travel paperwork. Italy remains la dolce vita, just with digital paperwork before pasta night. Number 2, Germany. Germany, the continent's economic powerhouse, now adds digital barriers too. ETIAS registration and EES biometric checks become mandatory for Americans in 2026. A wave of 300,000 asylum applications in 2024 spurred stricter protocols. Chancellor Olaf Scholz argued that unity demands vigilance. As a key U.S. ally with 35,000 American troops stationed on its soil, Germany's policy reflects shared post-war commitments to both freedom and security. 8 million Americans visited in 2024, contributing €6.5 billion. Data sharing between Washington and Berlin will continue, but travelers may encounter extra verification steps. Oktoberfest remains cheerful. Just expect a few more clicks before the first beer. Number 1, France. France tops the list, drawing 3.5 million Americans yearly and earning over €8 billion in tourism receipts. Yet in 2026, the romance of free entry gives way to digital formality under ETIAS and the EES system. Calais saw 100,000 migrant crossings in 2024. President Emmanuel Macron framed the tightened process as liberty, equality, security. France's Indo-Pacific strategy and partnership with the U.S. reinforce this balance between openness and control. Analysts predict the steepest decline among Western European nations, an 11% drop. Filipino artisans tied to French luxury firms may also see ripple effects as visa reciprocity tightens globally. The Eiffel Tower still dazzles, but entry now begins online before boarding the plane. From Brazil's eVisa revival to Europe's ETIAS web, one message stands out. In 2026, the world is rethinking mobility. These are not mere fees. They reflect a wider reality where global security, migration, and diplomacy intersect. The U.S., with its $800 billion defense budget, helps fund global stability, yet finds its travelers facing heightened scrutiny abroad. For the Philippines and millions of its diaspora connected to the U.S., these shifts underscore how border policies ripple far beyond tourism. Will they bring safer travel or shrink global exchange? History shows cycles of tightening and opening. Perhaps this digital age of travel, with smarter verification, will ultimately build trust rather than barriers. But the question remains, are we ready to adapt when freedom of movement comes with a login screen? If this global roundup stirred your curiosity, share it with a friend who loves to travel or debate geopolitics. Subscribe to Discovering the Earth for more in-depth stories connecting the Philippines, the United States, and the changing world. Until next time, safe journeys wherever your passport takes you.